Hi guys, Darian J here, and we are having another studio session. Let me just check I'm streaming everywhere. Seems to be. I am now live on Facebook, Twitch and YouTube, so make sure to subscribe to whichever one you use the most, and get some notifications so you can see when I go live if you're interested in this kind of thing. Obviously don't bother if you're not. Okay, so today is release day, and I'm really behind this week, and because I've been messing around with this streaming stuff, it's put me back even further. So I've been here for about an hour already, because the track I wanted to master ready for release wasn't quite finished. We worked on it yesterday. It's called What That Money Is. And there was a pluck sound in there that I thought came in too early. So I changed it. I moved it later. And then split it and had the half play first and the other half play after during the breakdown. And I thought that would be okay. Listened back to it and there's still something not quite right. So I basically just muted that whole channel. Just got rid of it. Realized that it wasn't when it was playing so much, it was just it didn't need to play. It was unnecessary. The strength of this track from listening back to it is there's a lot of effects going on, a lot of delays or echo, and that's quite powerful, and that creates tension by itself. And the synth line and the bass line are strong enough and hooky enough to carry the track. So I took the plunge, got rid of it, bounced it back out, had a quick listen just now, and it seems okay to me. So great. So what we can do, we can start the session with mastering. Now, this is a bit of a dark art in music production circles, and it's not particularly easy in that it does take practice, and it does take decent equipment to get a good master, a really good master, but it can be done to a level that is good enough for you or I to play a track out, or even to release it. I've had plenty of tracks released. I've had a few tracks released before this year that I've mastered myself, and every track this year, apart from a few at the beginning, I have mastered myself. And yes, when I do compare them to commercially released tracks of artists that I play and I respect, don't quite stand up, I don't think, but that's always going to be the case. What you can do and what you want to do, there's always going to be a gap. No matter how far you get, there's always going to be someone better than you. There's always going to sound like they are doing something magical in comparison, but they're not. It's just they've got different access to different things. They have more money, possibly. They pay someone to do the mastering for them, for example, and mastering engineers have, dedicated mastering engineers have phenomenal setups. So, without further ado, let's crack on. I could talk for ages. Feel free, if you have any questions, do put them in the chat. I'm not sure where it will show up for me, but you can always ask a question in the comments below afterwards if you're watching the video as opposed to the live stream. Okay, so mastering. I'm going to put a timer on as always, because if not, I could be here for hours. So I need to put a timer on just to say, right, that's enough, be done, if I can't get it done before it goes off. Okay, so 25 minutes is the maximum I usually do in the studio, because after that you start losing concentration and your ears start getting a bit tired and you need to have a break. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the luxury of having a break and coming back because I've got other stuff to do, life, basically. So 25 minutes max, and I'll talk you through mastering at a very, very basic level. So let's have a look at the screen. Let me switch to that screen there. So you should be seeing the arrangement view, hopefully. Yep. And in the arrangement view, I have got the bounce, which is the stereo file recorded out from the project, the track project. And stupidly, I didn't check the level was low enough. You should have it around minus 6 dB, minus 6 decibels on your master channel, which is that one over here. So that reading there should read maximum -6 when you're playing it. Unfortunately, I forgot to check, so it was at -2. So what I've done a little cheat and just turned down the gain of the clip itself here, which you probably shouldn't do, but I've done it before and I can get away with it, so let's not worry about it. Okay. So what do we do now? So I have the track in a channel. I have a reference channel, and I haven't copied in, so I'm going to copy this back down to that channel as well. And I've got a shortcut key S set up to solo the reference channel, so I can switch between the track that I'm working on with plugins on and the track that has got nothing on. I've also got a few things set up on my master channel. So I have the Arc 2. Where is it? Here we go. So I have the Arc 2 plugin installed. Bring that over here so you can see it. And that basically is a room correction system. Unfortunately, again, I haven't set it up for the new room that I'm in now after moving house last month. No, 2 months ago nearly. So as you can see there, it still says Waterloo Street, which is my old address. So it's not going to be that great a comparison. It doesn't. The idea of this plugin, it basically corrects the output of your speakers to adjust for the inaccuracies and the problems with your room. And obviously each room is different, so it's been set up using a measurement mic for my old room, and now it's not set up properly for here, but it still does give me an idea of how it sounds in the old room, I guess. So it's basically having a different reference point, a different way of listening to it is always good. So I have that. I have my headphones. I have the Mixcube over here, which is a mono speaker, a Grot box, traditionally it's called, which basically sounds really bad, but if it sounds okay on that, you know you're onto a winner. I also have unplug it. This bad boy here, which is the sub pack. I think it's the S2, and this is great. This is basically a haptic bass pack. So you put this on my chair, and I can check the real bottom end. So what you'd hear coming from a sub, or what you'd feel coming from a sub in a big club like Fabric or something. So that's the final test for me, is to check the real bottom end to make sure it's not overpowering and it can work on a proper big system. So that's my reference points. Okay, so let's go back to the track. So on my the actual channel I'm working on, I have my mastering chain. So I have actually we'll come back to this in a second. Let's have a listen to the track first. Now I've checked this out on my earphones, and I've said this before. When listening back to a track that I've worked on, and it's ready to move on to the next stage, or I think it may be ready to move on to the next stage. It's I always listen to it on the way I always listen to it in the way I would listen to music the most. So my earphones, my Shure SDL2s now. I've been using these for must be over a decade now in various versions, but always stuck with the entry level versions because they're good enough. And I've listened to so much music over the years on those tracks that I've bought for DJing. I'll listen back to on those and get an idea of how they sound and kind of get them organized and that kind of thing. So I always listen to stuff on there, and if it sounds right on those, I know I'm okay. So if you have a second to switch your listening to your favorite listening option, so whether it's your DJ speakers, your studio speakers, or your earphones, or your over-the-ear headphones, put those on now, listen back to this, and then when we start adding stuff, you'll be able to hear the difference, and you'll be able to you'll be able to hear how it compares to what you normally listen to. Okay, even if it's a different genre, of course. Okay, so let's play this back. I'll turn the mic off while I do, and I'll catch you in about 6.5 minutes.
We're going to be talking about what money is. We're going to be talking about what money is. I wanted to touch on this because we all work, pretty much a third of our lives to save money, invest money, spend it, give it away, do whatever we want to do with our money. But at the end of the day, what is this? This is just a piece of paper. It's got a guy's face on it, a building on the back. I can go to the store. I can maybe get like a $5 footlong at Subway. I don't know if they do that anymore. But what is this, and how does this allow me to buy things?
Okay, there you have it. So, I don't think it misses the pluck sound that I had in there earlier. If you want to hear that, then check out yesterday's stream, the mixing session, the quick mixing session, I think I called it, which is available on Twitch or my Facebook page. Not my artist page, but my personal one. So if you're not a friend, hard luck. But yeah, Twitch, you can see it. So have a listen to that. You'll see that I don't think it misses it. Okay, so I realised I've given myself a bit of a hard task. I've set the timer 25 minutes at the beginning of the stream, and I haven't actually started working on the track yet. So I've literally got 10 minutes to do this mastering. So let's rush through this quickly. Okay, so the first thing is we loop a loud section. So let's go to the main payoff or drop, as they call it in EDM. And we'll loop that up. And we'll bring up, let's get both of these screens on so you can see. Okay. So we've got the loop going, and I'm going to have to keep the mic on while I do this, so the sound's not going to be great, but I'll turn it off so you can listen to each section. So as I add things. So first thing is we add the first thing in my chain is the waves SSL Comp Stereo Compressor, and I'm just using the Stereo Finalizer setting. So let's add that on. So I'm likely to hear much of a difference. But this is basically just to give it a little bit of a glue, just to glue it together a little bit. Very gentle, as you can see by the needle there. Not much reduction. In fact, it's probably a bit much. I'm going to bring the threshold up a touch, just so you get a very gentle compression. Leave everything else as it is, so I don't really know what it does. Next up is UAD Shadow Hills mastering compressor. Oh, I didn't loop. So listen to this without. And with. So that's a lot more powerful compression from that, and it's a real, old analog sound to it as well. UAD, by the way, is a dedicated processor for the plugins. So you can either get it in a card, which you put inside your computer, or you can get it as an external box, which you plug in via Thunderbolt now, I think. I think you can get USB ones as well. Or you can get them, you get sound cards or audio interface with the UAD processing included with it. It's quite expensive, but worthwhile, because these sound so close to the originals. I mean, a Shadow Hills compressor, mastering compressor, will cost you thousands. So it's worth the money just for the plugins themselves. Okay, so mastering compressor on there. Next is another UAD plugin. This is the Manley Massive Passive Equalizer. So I'm just going to whack this on. So that's without. Oh, and I'm using the Dance Master preset, which I think I've tweaked one or two of the settings, but maybe not. So let's whack this on. So there's a bit of a boost on the low end, a bit of a boost on the top end, a little bit of a cut on the kind of lower mid frequencies, which just basically just gives you that classic smiley EQ you get in dance music. Okay, so the next in line is Brainworks BX1, and this, I only really use this just to use this knob here, which is the mono maker, and basically just puts everything below a certain level in mono, so below a certain frequency, I should say. So basically you want to make all the bass mono and the rest stereo. So with this, that does that. You can do it with the utility plugin in Ableton Live, but obviously the dedicated plugin like this will just give you a better quality, but it doesn't mean you say you can't do it. Also take a little bit off the bottom end with this here, a little bit off the top end, and again, let's hear what it sounds like. This is without. With. Without. Again, you probably won't hear much difference, but I thought I'd better do that. Okay, next on the list is Waves Kramer tape stereo. So, Kramer master tape, and this basically just adds a little bit of tape analog sounding goodness to the track. So let's put that on. So without. Sounding pretty good. Okay, so the last in the line is basically Ozone 9. I think there's Ozone 10 or maybe 11 out now, but I haven't bothered upgrading because this does the job perfectly well. So with this basically just corrects my mistakes. So how this works, we basically just play the track, have it switched on, and then we basically choose the loudest part, which is what we've got at the moment. Play the track, and then we hit this Master Assistant button, and it basically listens to the track and creates a sequence of plugins within it to adjust the track to get it sounding as good as possible. So let's see what it does, shall we? So the setting I use is medium intensity loudest EQ. I haven't tried high, but it's really, really loud. That's also harsh, like EDM style. Down with the tool. So let's just try this. See what it does. Crash. Let me just delete it and then bring it back in again. That should solve the problem. Where is it? Mastering 09. There it is. Let's drag it in. So turn these off. Master Assistant. Okay, let's select Vintage. Make sure we're on streaming for destination. Not sure what the difference is between that and CD, but seems to work. Okay. Oop. So play the audio. As you can see, the system's working. Ding. Speakers up. I'm going to put my headphones on because then I can hear what's going on. Obviously I wouldn't normally do this in headphones, but this is just more of a demonstration, even though this track I'm going to release it tonight. So let's double check what's going on here. Wow, that's loud. Turn the headphones down a touch. There we go, that's better. Okay, so first thing we need to just increase the ceiling on the, actually check the equalizer. Okay, hasn't done too much to it. A little bit of boost in the mids. That's quite common for my tracks because there isn't a lot going on in the mid-range of my tracks at the moment because they're quite minimal. That's intentional because I'm just practicing with this kind of dynamic music making style of jamming and recording. So there isn't a lot going on, so there tends to be a bit of a gap in the mids. So that's okay. Vintage EQ, bit of a low boost and a high cut as well. So even though over here I did a bit of a high cut, I did a low cut as well, but that's just for safety's sake really, so I don't get too much bass. And it's boosted a little bit of bass there. Didn't use the vintage comp because there was no wild dynamic variations apparently. And then vintage limiter, which limits the volume and just makes everything not peak too much. And then the maximizer to make it extra loud. So what I need to do is I want to get it up to, if you look at the master channel over here on the left screen, want it to peak at just under 0. So I just go minus 0.1. It seems to be okay. I'm sure there are rules that you're supposed to follow what it's supposed to peak at, but again, seems to work. So I'm going to just adjust this ceiling level on the maxima up to 0.1. Let's have a listen. Okay, that's cool. But over here, as you can see, it's only peaking at minus 1.91. So we need to bring that up. And we do that by bringing down... bringing up the limiter level. So let's just do that. As you can see here, this blue line is basically how much it's affecting it. So I want it to be touching a little bit so I can see that it's doing a little bit of work. So bring that back down a touch. So you can see there. So you see a little tiny dip there, that's enough for me. And then the maximizer we can bring down, and that's going to squish it and bring the overall volume up a bit. Sorry about that, not that much. Okay, that's good. So I'm happy with that. That'll do for now. So we're going to bounce it out and we're going to listen back to it. So a couple of things I need to do before I do. This is a little trick I learnt a while back. So on the oh no, I've already done this. Basically, when I do the mix down, I used to do it in the master, but now I do the mix down just to save time. So during the breakdown, so on this, let me just focus in on this screen. So on here, So between the break here and here, I would reduce the volume by 1 dB just to help the impact of the payoff, the drop, when it happens here. So basically the break's a little bit quieter, but the mastering brings everything up anyway, but it's just going to be slightly different, slightly lower. And then the impact should be much better on the drop. But I haven't done it here. One more thing I generally have to do with Ableton. For some reason, Ableton, it seems to cut the attack off the first kick. And I've noticed that as well when actually making the track. If I remove the clip in the arrangement, say from the kick drum, in order to mute it, when it comes back in, it misses the attack of the first kick. It always sounds a little bit dull in comparison to the rest of the kicks. So I've now made sure that I try and just use volume automation to drop out the volume of the kick before bringing it back in when I'm recording, and that can be avoided. I have no idea why Ableton does that. It's really strange. So yeah, the first kick, it actually seems okay this time, but I'm going to put a little gap in at the beginning, just like a 1 beat gap. Excuse me, stomach rumbling. Oh, that's 1 bar. I mean, one beat. There we go. So right click, no, hold on. Create from the menu bar up here. Insert silence. There we go. So now, excuse me. There we go. So we've got a little gap at the beginning, just to make sure that kick isn't cut off. Just going to quickly check through it. Oh, one thing I haven't checked. The bass. So get my sub pack out. This is great. Let's put it. Oh, headphones get in the way. Let's move those. Sub pack here. My alarm must have gone off ages ago, but I'm giving myself a little bit of leeway. So plug this in. So I've got it set up. So I've got a separate channel from my sound card, separate set of stereo channels going out to this, and you're not going to be able to hear it, but or feel it obviously. But basically, when I play the track, another plugin I forgot to mention on the master channel, separate to the plugins on the actual track channel, is I have Sample Magic's Magic AB, which is a reference plugin. Where are you? So let's go back to here. And this reference plugin is great because you basically load it up with tracks and you can compare your track to theirs. Now, I'm not a massive fan of using reference tracks generally. I do have some loaded in my normal project template to give me an idea when I'm mixing, that it's sounding close. We're not too far away. But with my mastering, all I'm concerned about is getting it as good or as close to my previous releases as possible. So let me play this for you. Let me just get a loop going again on here. Let's get the same loop going. And then we play. play this track. Feeling the bass here. The bass is clean, and I feel the gaps in between the bass hits and the kick. So that's done. I'm happy with that. That'll do. You'll hear me say that a lot. That'll do. Because otherwise, you'll be here forever. So just put this back. Excuse me while I fiddle with this. Okay, so let's go back to here. You can see me again. And so that's fine. That's checked. One more check is on headphones and the mix cube. So let's have a quick look on there. You're not going to hear this. Yeah, that's okay. And one more check is checking the mono and the side levels using the. I wish I could show you this, but there's I've got the TC Electronic BMC2 here, which is a control monitor control unit, and that's got a mono button on it and a side button, so I can switch between stereo, mono. Oops, let's have a decent bit of the track. Mono, and then that's just the side. You're not going to hear that. You're not going to hear the difference on the feed. Okay, but that's all fine. So let's bounce it out and call it a day. Now, as I say, this is release day. I'm really cutting things close to the wire, which means I've got to bounce this out, have a quick listen, make sure it's okay using my earphones, and then upload it. So keep an eye on my Facebook page. I'll post on there later, and you'll be able to grab it from Bandcamp as well. Hopefully later today, if not, maybe tomorrow. Let's see how we get on. All right, thanks for joining me. I'll see you again hopefully in the morning when I'll be working on a brand new track from scratch. I'll see you then. Thanks for joining. Take care.